What's so great about Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, is that it's so challenging to review. As a film, it defies simple explanation or labelling. It's complex and deep, yet at the same time so self explanatory that attempting to explain it risks either diminishing the material or stating the obvious. The use of the single continuous take turns the film into one big piece. There are no scenes, the film is one big scene. Watching the film is like looking at a completed jigsaw puzzle. The brain ignores the edges of the individual pieces because all that matters is the whole image, the same way there are no parts of a statue, there's just the statue. That's why trying to explain individual elements of the film would be to misunderstand the whole point of it. Every thread connects to every other thread. Pull on one and you start unraveling the entire thing. So instead, I want to talk about the way the single long take transforms the script. Most of the time, saying that every scene and main character in some way relates to or furthers the themes of a film wouldn't be considered particularly high praise, but Birdman demonstrates how being part of one continuous sequence elevates them. For most films, character and themes are mere ingredients, but when I was watching Birdman, it was like they were all around me, as though rather than being used to tell a story, instead they were the story. There was no clear boundary between them. In 2005, David Foster Wallace, the American professor and writer of novels, short stories and essays, delivered the commencement address at Kenyon College. He began with the following joke.
There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" And the two young fish swim on for a bit, and then eventually one of them looks over at the other and goes, "What the hell is water?"
That's how watching Birdman feels. It's like being a fish swimming in a straight line through a linear block of theme. The number of water molecules in the ocean is estimated to be 477 septillion. But we don't think of the ocean in those terms. It's just the ocean, one thing. How it looks under a microscope is irrelevant because it's all one interconnected ecosystem. That's what Birdman is like. It's a closed, self-contained loop. Martin Scorsese described Marvel films as being like theme parks, and I understand his reasoning, but I also think Birdman is also like a theme park in the sense that the experience is super linear. The use of the single continuous take simulates being on a ride, like we're travelling on rails from one end of the film to the other as a single uninterrupted journey. That effect wouldn't be possible if the film were cut into a series of individual shots. That technique creates the impression that there's only one possible version of this story. The lack of alternate takes means the film is watertight, that there's nowhere to put any alterations. This is the way the story would always have unfolded, as though none of the characters have free will. Their decisions have already been made for them. Their future is predetermined. There's no way for them to escape. They're trapped in this endless, cyclical existence. Watching Birdman feels closer to remembering it after having already watched it. When I recall a film I've seen, I don't remember the cuts or the rigid cinematic structure. I just remember different lines of dialogue and characters and scenes all at the same time as one big blob. I don't remember how it all fits together. In my mind, it's a fully formed recollection, not unlike dreaming. The film begins with Regan meditating, so is the film all in his head? Certain moments are implied to possibly be in his own imagination, and one reading of the film is that the story is merely how he's arranging all the disparate thoughts in his head into something resembling a coherent narrative, and maybe that's the case. On the other hand, maybe the story does literally happen, or at least most of it, and instead it's the viewer arranging it all themselves based on how the story is structured. the structure being so organic that the writer is completely invisible. The film is like a hermetically sealed vacuum chamber, completely impenetrable. The characters and themes are the work of the writers, but they're omnipresent, like vapour in the air, so the writers are too. You can't see that which is omnipresent, like fish that can't see the water around them, and the same is true of real life. That's why the director, Alejandro G. Iñárritu, wanted it to be, or at least to appear to be, entirely one take, because we live our lives in one continuous take. We can't see beyond our own immediate experience because that experience is on rails and linear, like the film. You spend long enough existing, and eventually you adapt to your own immediate experience, feeling like the only one that's real, forgetting about all the fish in the ocean whose only experience of the world is also immediate and their own, and that don't know you exist either. And at least in my case, it's only by watching a film that replicates this, as though holding up a mirror to the viewer, that I finally understand it. Iñárritu has described BiRDMAN as a film about the ego, but I think it's more a film about the illusion of the ego. The ego doesn't exist. We only place so much value on ourselves because we're the only person we get to experience being.